Why don't we get into some basketball? Because to me, Julius Randle, I think, doesn't even know where the hell he is. I told you this, Speedy, for the last couple of months after the season that Julius Randle can't play in front of fans. I think he has a problem. I think he really has a major problem of understanding how to shoot when there's fans out there. How many air balls? How many bricks that we have seen over the last couple of weeks that Julius Randle has laid and really disappear in certain games? Just completely disappear. The other day, he had, 9 points? Julius Randle, who averaged 24 points last year, 10 rebounds, and 7 assists. This year, he's averaging almost 17 points, 9 rebounds, and 5 assists. He's been absolutely horrendous. And for a guy that shoots 42%, that is not a good percentage for a guy that shoots perimeter shots. But not only that, when you look at where this team is going, it's completely falling apart. You bring in Evan Fournier. There are games that he looks good. There are games that he completely disappears. Kemba Walker, I don't know what Kemba Walker is going to show up every single day. Derrick Rose isn't 100% healthy. Finally, we're starting to see the young players. I like what we see with the young players. The other day, we saw Obi Toppin on the court for a significant amount of time. Thank God. What are you doing, Tom? But again, I don't understand why he just decides not to play the young players. Right now, the only thing that stands out to me on the growth of this team is R.J. Barrett, who since January is averaging almost 24 points a game. He's been the guy that's been taking over, really showing that he can go left, he can go right, he could do all the things that we wanted to see him. He's starting to shoot free throws, and he's starting to hit open three-point shots. That's something that he had problems when he came into the league. And now with Cam Reddish, maybe Williamson in the future, the Duke Blue Devils of the New York Knicks, I don't know what you want to call them. Maybe Coach K will take over the team.
I don't know. We have the Kentucky Knicks and the Duke Knicks all at once. I don't know.
I mean, seriously.
The Blue Blood Knicks? The college basketball Blue Blood Knicks, maybe?
I have no idea. But this team is starting to not look like much of a basketball team. Maybe that Tom Thibodeau is just tired, or maybe these players are tired running this offense and running this defense. Tom Thibodeau has been known to wear out his players a little bit earlier in the season, and then they're not the same team at the end of the season, but it's still kind of early. I mean, it's 35 games into the season, 40 games into the season, and this team is already tired? It's not even the All-Star break, Speedy, so I don't know what's going on with this team.
Yeah, I think R.J. Barrett, you mentioned the Duke connection with Cam Reddish. I think he's played a lot better. He's really elevated his game since Cam Reddish has come over. Now, granted, Reddish hasn't played all the time, too. He's only played in 2 games, and both limited with the Knicks so far. But I think the confidence of R.J. Barrett, you definitely see it, especially with his three-point shot. His defense has been improved much of the year, the whole way, but even he was slumping offensively for about a month and a half as well, and now you're seeing him go back to the player that he's supposed to be. Julius Randle, your fans' theory is definitely evident right now. I don't know what's going on with him ever since then. He's really forcing shots, shooting very inefficiently, and becoming kind of that worse version of that lower tier, what he wants to think of himself as a number one option. And it's not a good look for the Knicks, a Knicks team that has done a good job in terms of developing young players. Obi Toppin absolutely should be playing more. Since Emmanuel Quigley and Quentin Grimes have played more, they've done a nice job getting themselves into the rotation. So I think these guys should be playing more. And Julius Randle, whether he gets benched or not is another question, but he has to at least take some level of back seat and let these young guys play. Because the Knicks, they're not only underwhelming to the point where, all right, they were maybe a 7 or 8 seed in comparison to 4. They're right now out of the playoffs if the season ended today. Nobody expected that when they were a 4 seed, that nobody expected to be as good as they were last year.
Absolutely. And then there's the Nets, who James Harden has come out and said that he doesn't want to be a Brooklyn Net next year. There are stories coming out of Philadelphia that he wants to go and he wants to play with Joel Embiid and Doc Rivers and where that team, that 76ers team that actually is playing good basketball. Joel Embiid is an MVP candidate, but so is Kevin Durant he's playing with, who was the predominant MVP before he gets hurt. I don't know what's going on over there in Brooklyn, but if it's true, they gave up a lot for James Harden. They give up a significant amount for him, and now he's not going to sign a contract. You don't know what's going to happen with Kyrie Irving. Kevin Durant could actually buy out of his contract and leave next year as well, and the Brooklyn Nets could be exactly in the same spot they were when Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, and the Jet decides, you know what, I'm done. I'm done with my career here. I don't want to be here anymore. Could you imagine Sean Marks practically throwing away draft picks and young players for these guys, and then they leave again, and then he gets fired? Same thing as Billy King. It's crazy. Karis LeVert, good player. Jared Allen's becoming a player. And Cleveland's been sensational, by the way. They're going to be a dangerous team moving forward for a very long time. They're good and they're young. But I don't know what is going on right now with the Brooklyn Nets. And if they don't win this year with James Harden, Kevin Durant, and Kyrie Irving, that was a wasted trade. You practically threw away your future again.
Yeah, whether they win this year, they're going to have to at least figure something out to make it work, because the relationships between these NBA players in what has been a very player-run league is always going to be fragile or short-term. And it seemed like it was close with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant for a while, and maybe it still is. But again, with him not getting the vaccine, the Nets maybe having to pay the fine in order to get him on the court, James Harden now feeling uneasy with this, it's going to be very hard to be able to repair that. So they're going to have to really work hard to make sure that they could get this going fast in order to make it work. Whether they finish as a 3 seed or a 4 seed, I don't think that really matters to them right now, because the Nets have played better on the road this year anyway. But they have to repair the images of who they want to be, get this relationship going where Kevin Durant doesn't want to buy out, James Harden doesn't want to test free agency, or even if he does want to test free agency, know that they still give him the extra year and make that kind of thing work. They have to repair their image in a way to avoid the deja vu that they endured 10 years ago.
And now hockey. And I will say this with the New York teams. The Islanders, since the COVID break, they've played pretty good hockey, but they haven't beaten any good teams. And they played the LA Kings the other day and just completely laid a lousy goose egg. Now, they were down 2-0 at the end of the second period. They did come back, but lost 3-2 against an LA King team that, let's be honest, is not better than them when they're at full strength. Now, the Islanders are just about to get it back to full strength. Pulik is coming back. Slowly but surely, Barry Trotz is back. But this team, they're playing chase hockey. And what I mean by that is they're right now chasing the 8th and the 7th seed, who, by the way, are up 16 points over them. And it's going to be very hard with 40 games left to catch those teams in front of them. And I know they have games in hand, but they got to continue winning when these teams, they're continuing winning. And to me, right now, Speedy, I don't know how the Islanders are going to catch these teams if they don't go on a spurt of 8 or 9 wins at least 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, they're going to need 2 different chunk streaks in order to make that kind of thing happen. Right now, they have 36 points with 8 games at hand on the Washington Capitals. They're behind by 19 points. That's 1 wild card spot. And the Bruins are in the other one, where they only have 4 games at hand, though, at the same time, and they're behind by 15 points. So there's 2 different scenarios that could work there. And whether it's the Capitals will end up being the other Metro team, or a team like the Rangers or the Hurricanes or Pittsburgh, wherever combo that ends up happening, they're going to have to make up a lot of ground regardless. Now, their game earlier today was postponed due to the flurry of snow that we're getting, the 22 inches that could be potentially coming. So they're going to have another drought where they might not be able to play for a while. So they're going to have to bounce back. 7-3 of their last 10 games. Hopefully the rust doesn't hurt them if you're the Islanders.
Absolutely. And then there's the Rangers, who have been playing good hockey, and they're right now the best team right now in the Metropolitan Division. Who would have thought that? Maybe it's Gallant. And we've seen this with Barry Trotz. He took over, and then all of a sudden the Islanders shot all the way to the top. Same thing with Gallant. Are they going to be able to hold on to that first place Metropolitan position? I don't know. And I don't think the Rangers are built for the playoffs this year, but it's a sensational story for what the Rangers are. You have Kreider, who right now leads the league in goal scoring. Who would have thought that Chris Kreider would be leading the NHL in goal scoring right now in 40 games into the season? He's going to be a 50-goal scorer this year. He's going to be an MVP candidate. So that says a lot about what Gallant has done to this team and really what this team is all about. They have a young defenseman in Fox that just gets better and better every single week. But this defense, this team defense, is not good, and we've seen this. Going into the season, we knew that their weakness was the defensive side of the puck. They have been better as a team defense, but as a single defense or a line defense, this is not a good defensive team, Speedy.
Yeah, they've leveled out in terms of after the big hot streak. They're 6-4 in their last 10 games. Their defense has looked sloppy in certain moments, especially the last game against Columbus, where they outshot the Blue Jackets 36-19 and then lost the game 5-3. How that happens is beyond me. Playing well, but they kind of weather the storm a little bit. They're right now third, tied for first with 60 points with the Hurricanes and the Penguins. And again, I still expect them to be kind of in the 2-3 range anyway, but Could
you believe the Penguins, the way they're playing right now?
Yeah, they're right now having the streak the Rangers did kind of a month ago, and the Hurricanes, they're a great team, so we kind of expect them to be there, but the defense does have to be a little more consistent as a whole. Their depth is better than it was last year, which is a good sign, but they still have to be a little more consistent as a whole. And offensively, they're getting good production in a lot of different areas. Obviously, Chris Kreider having the great year he has. I think as a whole, you're really seeing a lot with this Rangers team. And also shout out to Henrik Lundqvist, who got his number retired yesterday as well by the New York Rangers at Madison Square Garden.
A very special guy. Even if you're not a Ranger fan and you're an Islander fan, you can't hate Henrik Lundqvist, who was a good Samaritan when it comes to hockey. He was a player that everybody liked. It didn't matter if you were an Islander fan, Penguin fan, or a Florida Panther fan. you loved Henrik Lundqvist because he showed the ability to go out there and play hard every single day, every single game, playoff, regular season. He was a hard worker. And to me, one of the greatest goaltenders of this era, one of the greatest goaltenders of all time, if you really look at the top 10, top 15 goalies to ever play this game. And for a guy that he didn't really stand out when he was drafted, really developed into that top-end goaltender over the years with Jonathan Quick and
Carey Price.
Carey Price. Yeah. To me, Henrik Lundqvist was better than all of them. And it's an amazing story. He deserves it. And for all the Ranger fans that had experienced the opportunity to be there when Henrik Lundqvist's number got raised over there in the rafters, it was probably a very special night for all the Ranger fans. Speedy, what do we got?
Crunch time!
It's time for Crunch Time.
Read the tackle. Got to see the pitch.
So all football to round it out, we'll start with one coaching one. Buy or sell. The Raiders will either hire Josh McDaniels or Jim Harbaugh to be their next head coach.
I am going to buy it. I think it's Josh McDaniels. Jim Harbaugh has completely fallen out of the conversation. I think Josh McDaniels has an understanding of where this team is. You have Derek Carr, you have Waller, you have Jacobs. This is a good offensive team. Kind of put your little spin to it, a.k.a. Tom Brady style. Maybe this is a playoff team for a very long time, but we've seen this with the Broncos. It didn't work over there with the Broncos, but he actually has a quarterback here with Derek Carr, so I'm going to buy it.
I'm going to sell it. I think just because I think they really have to repair their image. You saw what happened with John Gruden, that whole debacle that turned out to be, whether it's all his fault or Dan Snyder's or whatever it is, they really have to do something different. I think they have to really get a more consistent culture guy. We've seen Jim Harbaugh have a lot of trouble with young players in San Francisco, and Josh McDaniels really wasn't a good head coach while he was with Denver, so I am going to sell that. All right, buy or sell. We'll do the two for the AFC Championship game. Somebody other than Tyreek Hill or Jamar Chase will lead the AFC Championship game in receiving yards.
I am going to buy it because I think both teams are going to know that these are the two best players, and Travis Kelce is really showing up year in and year out in the AFC title game. I expect him to play very, very well, even better than Tyreek Hill. And Jamar Chase, as good as he is, I think Kansas City is going to try to take him out and make Higgins or Boyd beat him or one of those other guys. So I am going to buy it.
I'm going to buy it, too, for the sole purpose of what you saw with the Chiefs. The one good thing they did against the Bills defensively was stop Stephon Diggs. I think you're going to see one of the other receivers, like Gabriel Davis did with Buffalo, one of the other receivers, Higgins or Boyd, is going to be the leading receiver in this game as a result. I think Kelce does well for the Chiefs as well. I think Hill will lead the Chiefs in receivers, but I think one of the other twos for the Bengals will have more. I'm going to buy it. Both Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes are 300-plus yards and 2 touchdowns.
I'm going to sell it. I think Patrick Mahomes will. I think Joe Burrows will have 2 touchdowns. I don't think 3. I think the Kansas City Chiefs are going to completely dominate this game and kind of throw Joe Burrow off. And Joe Burrow was sacked 9 times last week. I think he gets sacked close to that, too, again this week. If that happens against a Kansas City Chiefs team, I think they're going to be able to throw him off. And with the offensive ability that Kansas City has, I think that's trouble for Joe Burrow. So I am going to sell them.
Yeah, I'm going to sell it, too, just with the Bengals' red zone woes. He might even get close to the yards, just because the Chiefs' secondary looked really bad against the Bills, too. But the red zone offense for the Bengals has really been a problem, so I am going to sell it. All right, buy or sell. Deebo Samuel will be the leading rusher in the 49ers versus the Rams.
I'm selling that. I don't think that's going to happen. As much as a lot of people think Deebo Samuels is going to have a big part running and throwing the ball, a lot of the teams over the last couple of weeks forgot that Deebo Samuels is a dominant player, and he has been a great player this year with over 1,600 yards. I don't see it in this game. I think the Rams are going to know that Jalen Ramsey needs to stick him. Jalen Ramsey will stick him, and Deebo Samuels is not going to have the game he has the last couple of weeks. So I am going to sell that.
I am going to buy it. I think receiving, he won't do very well with Jalen Ramsey. I think the Rams will do a better job with that. But I really don't see any other running back that's standing out in this game. You see Cam Akers with the 2 fumbles. I think he'll kind of be more in the doghouse. Sony Michel's a little bit rusty. He hasn't really played a lot with the Rams. Elijah Mitchell, maybe he's the guy, but he's a rookie too, that he might be a lot of pressure on him too. And the Rams have mostly struggled with the outside run. So I think you're going to see Kyle Shanahan really be creative with this. I am absolutely going to buy it. All right, one more. Both George Kittle and Cooper Kupp will have 5+ catches and 80+ receiving yards.
I'm going to buy it. I think both players are going to have big games in both respectable games. Cooper Kupp always dominates. And even against San Francisco a couple of weeks ago, Cooper Kupp had a great game. I can't see San Francisco being able to stop them. They don't really have a number 1 corner that can stop him. And not just a Kittle. When he plays and he plays hard, nobody can stop him. I think Kittle's going to have a sensational game. He's going to get 5 touches because Jimmy loves to throw to him. And 80 yards, I think it's possible. So I'm going to buy it.
I'm going to buy it too. I think you're also going to see, because the Rams have the backup safeties in, linebackers that are okay but not great. I think that's going to be a matchup that Kyle Shanahan realizes he's going to have to expose. He's been used mostly as a blocker for the first 2 games. I think you're going to see Kyle Shanahan Shanahan pull out him more as a receiver in this game to throw him off for what they usually do. So I am also going to buy it.
And ladies and gentlemen, that was Crunch Time.